One of the most important ways to love, respect, and care for yourself is to build a relationship of self trust. Self trust is when you make promises to yourself and you keep them no matter how big or small they are. It's when you do what you say you're going to do. You show up consistently and you know you can rely on yourself to get the job done, and you also stick to your core values, your boundaries, and your morals. This sense of self trust is essential to becoming the most confident, assured version of yourself. When you go against this, when you don't follow through with what you say you're going to do, you're reinforcing the opposite of self trust. You become nervous, anxious, unsure, unreliable, and if you continue that behavior long enough, you're going to become somebody that you don't recognize. I think a lot of us are walking around with this damaged relationship with ourselves, and we don't even know where it's stemming from, and we don't realize the effect that it has on everything else that happens in our life. Not having a sense of self trust leads to a very unsure, unfulfilling life. You second guess a lot of the decisions that you have to make, and you doubt your own capabilities because you do not keep your own promises. There is not a single happy, successful woman walking this earth that doesn't trust herself. A successful woman has had to rely on herself over and over again to get to the place that you admire her for. This might be a longer video, but that's okay because I think this is such an important topic to go deep into. I want to talk about the reasons why we sabotage the relationship with ourselves and what it actually takes to rebuild that trust. Okay, so before we rebuild anything, we have to take a look at what needs fixing and why. We have to identify the areas in our life where we have self doubt. What promises did you make to yourself that you're breaking? What boundaries did you set that you're continuously allowing someone to cross? And where are you betraying yourself? I'll give you some examples, some serious and some not so serious, so you know what I mean. Telling yourself you're going to start eating whole foods, but after 3 days you're eating like shit again is a broken promise. Allowing your roommate's boyfriend to still spend the night 6 days a week in your shared apartment, even though you already told her it made you uncomfortable, is a boundary you're continuously letting your roommate cross. Finding out your husband cheated on you and deciding to stay with him is betraying yourself. And I'm going to elaborate on the last one because I know it's a touchy subject, but I need you to understand where I'm coming from. When you stay with someone who cheated on you, that is a choice. And I am not here to judge that choice. I understand that relationships can be very complicated. There's history, there's love, there might be kids involved. And I also understand the finances and logistics of splitting up, and divorce can be extremely difficult to navigate. I get it. But I need you to understand under those complex layers of the relationship is what that choice you made to stay with him is actually communicating to yourself. You're really saying my pain, my dignity, my self worth, all of that matters less than keeping the relationship intact. And he may be genuinely remorseful. You guys might be in therapy and the marriage might be worth saving. That all can be true. But underneath all of that, the message that you're sending to yourself is that you are not worth more than a partner who consciously chose infidelity. And that is what's breaking your trust in yourself. Every decision we make is shaped by our thoughts and emotions, which are shaped by our beliefs. In order to understand why we're perpetuating the cycle of sabotage, we have to understand the root of the why we're doing it. And that's by analyzing our belief systems. So let's go back to those examples and dig deeper. What is the subconscious purpose of not sticking to your weight loss goals? Is it because you have the belief that you're not disciplined enough to stick to a diet? Is it because you believe you're not capable of overcoming your old habits and your cravings? Or maybe it's because you're afraid of the outcome if you're actually successful in losing the weight, like the kind of attention you're going to get that you're not ready for. Because unfortunately, as a woman in this society, our physical appearance has a direct effect on our lives and the way we're perceived by others. What is the subconscious purpose of allowing your roommate to cross your boundaries? Is it because keeping the peace between you is more important than getting justice for what you think is fair? Is it because you're afraid of conflict and you don't want to have a confrontation because you're afraid of the outcome? Or is it because you believe your own needs are inherently less important than other people's comfort? What is the subconscious purpose of tolerating infidelity in a marriage? Is it because you believe you won't find or don't deserve a better love? Is it because you believe you love this person more than you love yourself? Is it because you believe being alone is worse than being disrespected? Or is it because you believe that your value is tied to a relationship, even if it's a shitty one? Digging deep like this and reflecting honestly on these questions is so important. Without understanding the answers to these questions, you're not going to be able to implement lasting change because at the core of your identity, you're still believing that you're this person who isn't capable or isn't worthy. So now that we've done the hard work of identifying where we're breaking our own trust and what beliefs we have that are driving that behavior, we need to get clear on what exactly self trust is. I think a lot of us have this misconception that we need to be perfect in everything we do by following through 100% of the time. And when we inevitably fall short on that impossible standard, we use that as evidence that we can't trust ourselves. Perfectionism has no place in your ability to self trust. So let's go deeper on that feeling that we have to be perfect because that connects back to our beliefs that we talked about earlier. If you believe that you have to be perfect in order to be worthy of your own trust, what does that say about how you see yourself? It says that your value is conditional and that you're only deserving of love and compassion when you're operating at 100% all of the time. And where did you learn that? Who taught you that making a mistake made you untrustworthy? And I'm so willing to bet that you don't hold other people to that same standard. For example, if your best friend said she's going on a diet and she's doing great for 2 weeks, and then you see her eating a slice of pizza, you're not going to be like, oh, well, she fucked up. She's off the wagon. I can never trust her again. That would be insane. But you do it to yourself all of the time. So why are we so much harder on ourselves? So let's get back to our examples. If you are deciding that you're going on a diet and you're on day 3 and you slip up and you go to McDonald's, that doesn't automatically make you a failure. It doesn't mean that you have to beat yourself up. You have to ask yourself, what happened? What made this difficult? Where did I slip up? And why did I slip up? And treat that slip up as purely factual and informational. Don't attach any negative emotion to it. There doesn't have to be. Just learn from it and use it to make adjustments where you have to. If you talk to your roommate and you said, hey, if your boyfriend comes over one more night this week, I'm going to the leasing office, and she brings him over anyway, and you don't do anything about it. Instead of beating yourself up for not having the balls to go to the leasing office, call a friend and confide in her to make a plan. Better confront your beliefs about healthy confrontation and why you're afraid of it. If you're in a relationship that keeps hurting you and you keep staying, self trust doesn't mean hating yourself for not being strong enough to leave. You have to understand what you're afraid of, what need you think this relationship is meeting for you, and what you believe about yourself that makes staying in this kind of relationship the best option. And then trusting that you can start to change those beliefs even if you don't feel quite ready to leave the relationship just yet. You see how that's different? Just because you're not operating perfectly and doing everything right 100% of the time doesn't mean that you're not making any progress. You're just creating space for yourself to be human and to learn yourself better so that way you can make better choices. But make sure you really are being transparent and doing the work to analyze your beliefs and your behaviors. Because if you're not, they can quickly turn right back into excuses that make you fall back into your old patterns of thinking and programming. Through proving to yourself over and over that you are someone who follows through, you are someone who's capable of keeping her word, even if it's not perfect 100% of the time. You do have to actually start doing what you say you're going to do because that is how the trust is built. It is built through evidence of consistent action. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you're casting a vote for the version of yourself that you can trust. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you're casting a vote for the version of yourself that you can't. If you look at this hypothetical tally and you have 50 promises kept versus 5 broken, that's a really good indicator that you have a solid relationship with yourself. You can trust yourself because you have concrete evidence that you're trustworthy. But if the opposite is true and you have 50 broken promises versus 5 kept, you know you have some work to do. And even if you can get to the root and understand why you're breaking those promises, you're never really going to start building trust until you can start keeping those promises. When you say you're going to meal prep on Sunday and you actually do it, that's a vote. When you tell your roommate, hey, we need to have a conversation, and you actually do it, that is a vote. If you say, I'm going to leave this man, he's not treating me right, and you stay, that's a vote. To summarize, so we're clear, self trust is being honest with yourself about your beliefs, having compassion for yourself while taking consistent action, and proving to yourself through consistent follow through that you're the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do. Because life obviously is not black and white, it is okay to change your mind and still possess trust and confidence in yourself. Sometimes you set a goal or commit to something, but then you realize it's not working or it's not actually what you want. But instead of framing it in that perspective, you might just give up on that new goal or habit entirely, and that makes you feel like shit because there's another promise you broke, and there's more evidence that you can't trust yourself, and that makes you less likely to want to try again. But it's okay to recognize that a goal that you set just might not be the right goal for you in the first place. For your weight loss, you decided that you're going to commit to eating a salad every single day for lunch at work. But what you realize is when you're eating this salad at work, you're actually fucking starving an hour later, and now you're struggling to get through your workday, and it's causing you to binge at dinner later when you get home. There are other ways to achieve your ultimate goal that is weight loss. It is okay to renegotiate with yourself, but there is a big difference between consciously renegotiating with yourself and quitting and reverting back to your old habits. Quitting is just stopping entirely when things become difficult and convincing yourself that you're the kind of person that doesn't do what it is you're trying to do and that you don't really want it in the first place. You quit without examining if those statements are true because you're doing it out of avoidance of the discomfort you feel. Where renegotiation looks like reflecting honestly with yourself about what's really going on. You're reflecting and asking yourself questions like if it's right for you, if the approach you're taking needs to be adjusted, or if it's difficult or it's just not right for you. This is where we truly have to understand our motivations for doing things because a lot of the times we set goals because we think we should want them or because it's going to make us look a certain way. This is where we have to truly understand our motives because a lot of the times we set goals that we think we should want or other people are doing them and we think we should do it too. Did I decide to eat a salad for lunch every day because that's how I think I'm going to achieve my weight loss goals? Or I have this idea in my head that the person at my goal weight eats salad for lunch every day. When you get to the root of why you set the goal in the first place, it's a lot easier to determine if you should stick with it or if you should change course. When you stop and think of the purpose of eating a salad every day for lunch, you obviously know it's for the ultimate goal of weight loss. But is the salad actually accomplishing that, or is it hurting you by leaving you hungrier towards the end of the day where you're binging? What if I had a larger, more nutrient dense lunch that fit within my calorie deficit in order to achieve my weight loss? What move would support my actual goal here? Am I going to keep eating the salad that's leaving me starving and eating more later, or am I going to switch what I'm eating for lunch to keep me satisfied and to keep myself within my calorie deficit? The pivot changes the small promise of eating salad every day, but still honors the bigger promise of losing the weight overall. So just because you had to break that one promise to yourself doesn't mean that you're breaking your whole promise of losing weight, but it also doesn't mean that you're skipping the salad for lunch to eat an entire pizza. You're still honoring what you said you were going to do in the first place, which is lose the weight. You're just adjusting the method to get there. When you consciously sit down and say, I committed to this, but I realized this isn't working, and this is why, and this is what I'm going to do differently to change that, that's actually building trust because you're proving that you're someone resilient and adaptable in the face of challenges when you're meeting your goals. I know we covered a lot, and I know some of them may not seem related, but we're going to recap everything now because I think it's so important for you to understand how all of this connects. We talked about how broken trust comes from belief systems you're operating from without even realizing it. For example, the belief that your value is conditional, that your needs aren't as important as someone else's, and that being alone is worse than being disrespected. But once you understand what beliefs are influencing your life, you can change them through compassion and action. Every kept promise is a vote for trustworthy you, and every broken promise is a vote against you, and those votes add up over time. And sometimes the votes for trustworthy you look like renegotiating because the approach you chose isn't actually serving the goal you're trying to reach. All of this, the belief work, the compassion, the consistent action and follow through, that's what rebuilding self trust really looks like. I really hope you feel inspired to dig deep and cultivate a strong, confident relationship with yourself. You deserve to be, do, and have anything that you want as long as you believe that too. Thank you so much for watching.